We're going to go through a second example of a word problem. The one that we're looking at today is quite a popular type of question to come up in exam papers, so it's a good one to do as an example and get our heads around. And I'll ask you to do a little bit more practice with this before tomorrow when we're going to start to do word problems with simultaneous equations. Okay, so this question. The groundsman of an athletics club is given 3 lengths of tape and each one is 100 meters long. He's told to form 3 rectangular enclosures using each tape so each enclosure, of course, will have a perimeter of the length of the tape. So each enclosure should have a perimeter of 100 meters. Now, here's the extra bits of information or restrictions. For the first enclosure, the length and the width should be the same. For the second enclosure, the length should be 3 times the width. So the length should be bigger and it should be 3 times as big as the width. I'll just check if that's still showing up okay. Okay, and for the third enclosure, the length should be 11.5 meters shorter. So this time the length is shorter than the width. Okay, so do we have enough information from this to find the length and the width in each case? So for each enclosure, let me just move this up. For each enclosure, we must do 2 things. Sketch a diagram and calculate its dimensions. Especially in area and volume questions. Dimensions meaning length and width. Especially in area and volume questions, sketching a diagram is something that's really useful in terms of helping us solve them. So the first enclosure, the length and the width are the same, which means it's, let's go enclosure 1, it's a square. Okay, so a square, the length and the width are the same. And so we can say that they're both equal to x, like this. Okay, so what can I do with that information? Well, the perimeter is what we know. We don't know the area, but the perimeter in terms of a square is all 4 sides added together. And because they're all the same length, that gives us 4 times x. Okay, so the perimeter is 4x, but we also know that the perimeter is 100 meters. So 4x is equal to 100, and then we're going to solve 4x equal to 100, which means we divide across by 4 and x is equal to 25 meters. Now, have we answered the question there? We've sketched the diagram. Have we calculated the dimensions? We have, but let's write it down a little bit more formally. The length is equal to the width, which is equal to 25 meters. Okay, so not too difficult for the first one. Let's look at the information that we have for the second one. So for the second one, we're told that the length is 3 times the width. Which way does length go and which way does width go? It actually doesn't matter. But I usually do my length going up and down like this and my width going across. Now I'm just doing a sketch. I haven't measured out the boxes or anything like that, but it's rectangular. In cases like this, it's usually useful to let the smaller side be your unknown, because then you can just multiply it by 3 to get the longer side like that. Otherwise, I'm dealing with fractions to get a third of the longer one. So I'm going to say that the length is 3 times the width. So the length is 3x and the width is x. What else do I know? Well, the perimeter, it's still a rectangle, is still the 2 lengths added together and the 2 widths added together, which gives us 8x. But of course, again, the perimeter is still 100 meters, so we're trying to solve 8x equal to 100 meters. We divide across by 8, and that gives us 12.5 meters. Okay, what is that 12.5? It is x, which is the width. So this is 12.5, and I need to multiply it by 3 to get the length. So 12.5 by 3, which is 37.5, I think. Let me double check. 12.5 multiplied by 3 gives me 37.5. 37.5 meters. Again, write down your answer. You can actually even just fill them up here. So the length is 37.5 meters and the width is 12.5 meters. Okay, and you add those together, you get 50, and then double it, you've got your perimeter of 100. The final one then. So this time the length is less than the width, and it's not less by a multiple. So for my third enclosure, this one is smaller than the other one. It doesn't matter which one you say is x in this case. It's different when you're multiplying because you don't want to end up with fractions, but when you're just having one longer than the other by a certain amount, you're just adding or subtracting. So if this is x, this will be x minus 11.5. Let me just double check that it was 11.5. Yep. So the length is 11.5 meters shorter than the width. So if the width is x, the length is x minus 11.5. You could have done this as x and this as x plus 11.5. So when you can see which one is longer, you know how to add or subtract appropriately. Again, we know the perimeter. Sometimes in these questions, they give you information about the area. So the 2 widths added together plus the 2 lengths added together. X minus 11.5 in both cases. Add your like terms. 1, 2, 3, 4x minus 23. 11.5 plus 11.5 is 23, and that is equal to 100. The perimeter is the same for all 3 of these enclosures. So 4x is equal to 100 plus 23, 123. Divide across by 4. So x is equal to 30.75 meters. And it's okay to get a decimal like that. Now, x is my width. Don't forget, if I want to calculate my length, I need to subtract 11.5 meters from that. So my length is 30.75 minus 11.5. 30.75 minus 11.5, which gives us 19.25. 19.25 meters. So there we go. It looked like they hadn't given us a lot of information. It looked kind of complicated, but when you sketch out the diagram, hopefully it makes it a little bit more accessible. Now, once you've taken that down into your notes, I've got a question I want you to practice with, and tomorrow we're going to start to look at these with simultaneous equations.